Let's check in with our media partners from thevoiceofoc.org for an update on what's happening this week in Orange County government as well as politics.
Here to talk about issues in the news right now, we welcome the editor-in-chief for Voice of OC, Norberto Santana. Nice to have you with us, Norberto.
Ed, Ann, thanks for having me again.
Tensions seem to still be kind of high in Anaheim between the community and law enforcement. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, a year after the riots in that city, tensions seem to be worse. Let's not forget we have a city manager that's out, a police chief that's out. This weekend, we reported a story that the mother of a man accused of being a gang member who was shot by police last year is claiming that the officer that shot her son actually was pulling her over on a frivolous stop. After that, she alleges that, and there are eyewitness accounts, that the officers went to a memorial for her son on the side of the street there in Anaheim and kicked candles around. Police are investigating the incident. They're asking residents with information to come forward. But it's getting very hot in that neighborhood. Police spokesperson told one of our reporters today that they're beginning to have problems, that in the Guanita Lane neighborhood, when officers are showing up for calls for service, they're actually being confronted by entire crowds of people. There's a lot of worry. Recently there was a report done that a lot of spending on at-risk youth programs is really not what it could be in Anaheim. And again, it's bringing up the issue there of law enforcement spending versus social safety net spending. The mothers in that neighborhood are saying that they really want the city to step up spending in those areas if their kids are to have a better chance in these gang-ridden areas.
Well, you think about this, and is a complaint been filed, or was this just a confrontation that took place without a complaint, or what's going on with that?
Again, police are calling on the neighborhood to file complaints. In these neighborhoods, there's not a lot of faith in the reporting system always. We find similar issues in Santa Ana with many of the neighborhoods there. That reminds me of another story we had this week in Santa Ana, where the jail that was constructed in the mid-1990s when there was a large increase in crime, the jail is now largely empty, mainly filled with immigration holds. Ironic for a Latino, 78% Latino city run by a city council full of Latino leaders. But nonetheless, it's creating a real crunch on the budget there. That $7 million deficit is more than they spend on all the library system there in that city.
Let's talk a little bit about our jail system. Are they moving prisoners around to sort of make up for the difference? Are they trying to rehabilitate prisoners? What are they doing to handle that?
Well, this is the big challenge this year when Jerry Brown last year, in fact, did AB 109, which took a lot of state parolees and put them really under local supervision. It really created a shift. The idea was to keep them more in their local communities where there can be a support network. However, this week, Sheriff Sandra Hutchins came to the Board of Supervisors and basically told them in a very straightforward manner that they've got to start to think in a more holistic way about how to keep these people from reoffending. And that's not a popular topic here in Orange County. It means more spending on social service programs, things like job creation, substance abuse programs, a lot of counseling. At the same time, supervisors kind of fought back a little bit. We talked to Supervisor Todd Spitzer, who gave us his impression of what the state is doing in terms of providing the funds for that kind of spending. Let's hear him here.
This is a great burden, great cost, inadequate resources for the kind of outcomes and results that they want from us. And if they want those kinds of results, I think we all want those results, they're going to have to provide the resources we need to get the job done.
Again, resources is part of this challenge. This reminds me of another story we had this week with the supervisors. They had previously cut some funding to a nonprofit group called Latino Health Access. This speaks to the kind of the more, again, holistic, broad approaches needed in places like Santa Ana and Anaheim. There, they had a program run, was called Promotores. Supervisors kind of had some questions about using Spanish words and Spanish language to do mental health outreach in these communities. That drew a very harsh response from many of the nonprofit leaders and Latino leaders who basically said this is a type of outreach that's got to be done to increase civil society. That's another thing that keeps you away from law enforcement solutions, which tend to be very, very, very expensive. Here, the executive director of Latino Health Access, America Bracho, spoke directly to supervisors this week. Let's hear her in her own words telling them about this nexus between the two.
We want to share with you our commitment to work beyond just one health item, into really strengthening the opportunities for all kids in Orange County to reduce suicide, to reduce crime, to increase achievement, to develop a better workforce.
That's the challenge facing supervisors, is to utilize these kinds of programs. And ironically, Supervisor John Morlock warned Bracho that says, your numbers convinced me, not the fact that you went to the media, and he specifically called out David Nazar and PBS SoCaL for doing some reports on the issue. Supervisors were very kind of uncomfortable at being called out.
Well, where did the money certainly appear from?
Well, the money actually was a contingency fund that was there. The concern amongst many of the Latino leaders was that this funding had been cut by staff because they had challenged the use of Spanish language programming. Ultimately, again, supervisors came around on the issue and nudged the staff to increase the funding because they did make their case based on the numbers.
Okay, let's talk about a story posted earlier this week that you did on Voice of OC regarding Carlos Bustamante. His name continues to come up, and usually there's a lot of negativity surrounding it. What's the protective order over Bustamante's records that you uncovered?
Well, we have a long-standing lawsuit against the County of Orange asking for a series of public records. Let's not forget, in the Bustamante case, there was a law firm that was hired to check out a series of harassment allegations by a slew of women at the county that had never really been checked out by the HR department. When he was confronted with that report, he resigned abruptly in October of 2011. However, it took supervisors another 6 months before they forwarded anything about that case to the DA. And let's not forget that the DA charged Bustamante with 12 different felony sex crime allegations. The big question for us as reporters has been, how do we find out who knew what and when? The supervisors have frankly gone out really on a limb here to try to basically keep that from getting out in the public. This week, they went to a criminal court here in Orange County and asked that a protective order be cast over all of the Bustamante documents, the law firms, emails between officials. The aim there is, again, is that they don't want to have this discussion. Now, they argued in court that having that discussion would infringe upon Mr. Bustamante's rights to a fair trial. We argued in court that, I mean, these are situations that have resulted in the firing of CEOs, public works heads, and other top officials, and others have been promoted in their stay. We need to know who knew what and when.
What was the final outcome?
There was a delay. We'll soon hear. The judge took it under advisement. We'll wait for his decision.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
For more on these stories and other political news throughout Orange County, go to voiceofoc.org.
All right. Thanks a lot, Norberto.